Hey everyone, welcome back to West Coast Mopars. So today on the channel, I'm going to be changing the transmission in my 49 Fargo. Those of you who don't know the truck, I don't think I did a video on it of the build. I started doing the YouTube thing after I did this build. But what it is, this is a 49 Fargo. It's actually an F1B is the model, so it's a half ton. And I'll give you the quick version of this truck. I bought it from a guy down the street. It came from Saskatchewan. I live in BC. Trying to get it in my name. I bought it from the guy. It was original with a flathead 6. And it was on the original two-wheel drive chassis. And just a bone stock, unrestored 49 Fargo. And I tried to get it in my name, and there was issues with it having no history in Canada. No paperwork trail, nothing. So I ended up contacting the owners in Saskatchewan that had bought it new, and their grandpa had bought it new, and apparently he never put it on the road. He just kept it on the farm, so it never actually got registered. So technically, I'm the first registered owner of this 49 Fargo, which is kind of funny. It's I'm nowhere near as old as this thing, but the flathead was seized. And I had changed out the flathead with one from a 41 Plymouth, which actually would have been I believe a 23-inch head instead of the 25. I can't really remember. But supposedly had been rebuilt. Well, all it had was shiny silver paint, and it had a cracked head and leaked coolant all through the engine. So I gave up on that. I ended up putting a slant 6 in it out of a Valiant with an automatic, a 904. Just to put something in it, and it took a little bit of fabricating to get it in there. It's not just a direct drop in like some people think it is. Yeah, and then but that engine was gutless. It was so weak. It was just as slow as the flathead was. I ended up putting a 440 in it out of a 1970 Chrysler New Yorker, which I still have in the backyard. It's a parts car, and with a 727 that I rebuilt here myself. It had a broken low reverse band, so I had to change the band, and that's all the way inside the transmission. You got to pull the guts out, so I figured I would just rebuild it. And the rebuild went fine. It was in the truck. I drove it around like that for about a year or 2 years maybe, and then my wife and I were in front of this bar in town, and this old homeless guy was yelling at me to do a burnout, so I did. And by that time, I had put a Ford 8.8 rear end in this, because the original rear end, I think, had 488 gears, and that 8.8 was basically wide enough. It was a little skinny. The tires rubbed on the wheel tubs. You can see here where I'd cut them and folded them in to try and clear the rear wheels a little bit. It had 373s. Anyway, so I did a burnout in front of this bar. Big, cool burnout. You know, everybody's laughing and clapping. And I get home and I realized the back end had dog tracked. It was over like 6 inches, and I twisted the frame because it was the stock frame. And so I thought, oh, great, what do I do now? So I had this '66 Dodge. I'll see if I can attach a picture in here for you guys. And it was actually a short wheelbase 3/4 ton with a slant 6 and a 4-speed. And so the body was completely rotted, not usable, but the chassis was really nice. And I thought, man, I wonder if I could stick this Fargo body on that chassis and on that rolling chassis. And so that's what I did. So I did not narrow the Dana 60 in the rear, and look how well it fits in the wheel tubs. That is, I didn't touch it. It's just the stock width. And the front driver's side is fine. I don't mind it at all. You know, when you're beside the truck, that's a good, sticks out nice. But the passenger side sticks out a little further. Right? You can see it just poking out a bit there. It's not the end of the world. I wish it was in a little more, but it's just the way the body ended up sitting on the chassis. But anyways, the 440's back in, and of course, because the cab and the fenders are so much shorter than the 66s, and the cab sits more forwards. The engine didn't just plop down on the motor mount, so I had to actually move everything forwards to get it to fit properly behind, with the firewall right there. So there's the 440. It's a stock 1970 440. I put a dual master in it. It's got an aluminum rad from Amazon, just some Chinese 3-core 22-inch rad. It's squeezed way up behind the grill, so I had enough room for the fan. The manifolds on it are just center dump truck manifolds. But what I did this time was I didn't use the 727. I actually decided to put a 4-speed in it. And it is the same 4-speed that came out of the 66 with the slant 6. It's a new process 4-speed. You can see the shifter there. And I went with the twin sticks like the Power Wagon had, because I did keep the 205 transfer case under there. It is all hooked up. It does work in 4-wheel drive. And then this was kind of neat actually. The clutch pedals. These clutch pedal, brake pedal assembly, this is out of the 66. And this bracket here is the same one that was in the 66. And when I tucked it up under the dash, by the time I folded it up, it met the firewall exact. It's perfect. It's the perfect fit under the dash. Even the holes for the steering column bolts lined up with the holes in the bracket. It's weird, right? This is a 49 Fargo. And those are 66 Dodge clutch pedals, and everything lined up perfect. It's like it was meant to be. But there's the 49 interior. The ammeter's hooked up. It works. I'd like to get the fuel gauge working, the one in this truck. And I did do an electric wiper conversion. I've done so much to this. I converted it to 12 volt. This harness, I know it looks hokey, it's all hacked together, but this harness, the original part of it is actually from a 69 Dodge Dart. And I did do the plugs through the firewall. So it's got the, right, I should get the light, but right here, it's got the 69 Dart harness, goes through the firewall. The engine harness is 69 Dart, so it's got electronic ignition. It's got the Mopar ECU, the orange box. I might change that. I'm constantly wondering when it's going to fail, because that's why I started swapping all my ignitions again. But for now, that's what's in here, and it works. I did pull the transmission out. The transmission's sitting here on the hoist here. I do have a transmission jack, so that makes life way easier than trying to bench press this out while you're standing here. Yeah, it's, my flywheel. I did turn this flywheel on my brake lathe. It worked pretty good. It's got a couple grooves in it and stuff but they're not interfering with the clutch at all. But overall, it's, it worked out pretty good. It's got some cracks in it, but those were there. They're not all the way through. They're just on the surface. They were there when I got that flywheel. It was hard to find. I know it sounds crazy. Hard to find a neutral balanced flywheel for a 12-inch clutch. But anyways, there's the bell housing. That came from that 74 Dodge parts truck I had. It was a 400 and a 4-speed. And the 4-speed is the one that we're putting in this. But the 400 I've got over in the corner of the shop here. It's a good engine. We'll keep it for something else. But yeah, that's the bell housing. That's the whole reason I bought the truck, was for this big block aluminum bell housing. And yeah, I've taken out the little mini drive shaft in the middle, the intermediate one. I had already shortened this. I shortened it right here. It was longer, and now I'm going to have to shorten it again because I think that 445 is a bit longer. So this is the pressure plate that I just took out. So here, I'll grab my light. This pressure plate is that Borg Beck 3-finger, and you can see there in the center where I had to cut and flatten these fingers because they were too big. Like the whole thing, it's the whole combination. It's just something's off. I did have to adjust these nuts. These actually, when you back them out or tighten them, they move these arms up and down so that they have more contact on the throwout bearing. Yeah, and then inside, like I said, it's all purple springs in there, but that's all going to disappear. We're going to go with a diaphragm. And this is that 435. Nothing wrong with it. It's got this huge bearing retainer. This bearing retainer is so big that you have to use this massive pilot bearing, right? And here's my clutch fork that I was talking about that I had to modify. So what it is this side is actually from that 74 Dodge. It's got the clip for that bell housing. That's the style it's got. But this clutch fork is so wide that it fits over that bearing retainer. So I just took two of them and welded them together. And I actually had welded the ends on too. I had to make them longer. So, I mean, yeah, a lot of work that I did, and I'm just basically reversing it now. But this is how it goes. It's all trial and error. This clutch fork is the normal one, but it's a little smaller. When you look at it over top of that one, it's just a little narrower. That's for that throwout bearing. So that's the smaller one for the smaller input shaft. Anyways, just a lot of little things to change. Here's the new bearing retainer because the other one's broken. So I did put a new oil seal in it. I've got a new race and I've got a new bearing. So you know, we may as well, if we're going to put a new race in, put a new bearing on. So I just ordered a clutch through Rock Auto. I used to just run those Luck or Luke or however you want to say them, LUK clutches. I don't know how they're pronounced, but they always seemed fine. They're just a stock replacement, but they didn't have anything like that in stock. They did have this thing, Perfection Performance. I don't know. Who knows? We'll see. The pressure plate is actually a lot thicker than the other guys. Everything was packaged. Like the throwout bearing was packaged in plastic. Everything, the clutch disc was packaged. Everything seems a little bit like they're trying to be a little tidier maybe, or keep everything cleaner. Anyways, so, but it is a diaphragm. I'm just installing it now. I'm just rotating the engine slowly and putting each bolt in. Okay, I've taken the 435 out. It's down on the floor. This is the 445. I've got the new clutch up there bolted in. I did put that new bearing retainer on this side. And there's the new throwout bearing. So, and I've got the grease on the splines there. Yeah, and then this side, this is that yoke from a 727, short tail shaft 727. I did put a new seal in here. I had one upstairs. Yeah, I'm just going to jack it up. And I measured where my old mount is. It's funny, it actually lines up. It's about 3/4 of an inch forwards, but I can probably, I've got this part here is what I made. So this sits flat, and it just slides in to the square tubing, and I got some holes drilled, some bolts. That's how I had it before, and had just made up a goofy little mount. Here's that mount there. I had just made up this mount for the 435. It worked. You know, I checked it a couple times. Nothing ever fell apart. Had some gussets in there, but I can reuse this. And if I need at all, if I need to move like where the rubber mount sits, I could just put a piece of flat plate on top of this and extend it over, right? Have it come out further. So that's awesome, because I was thinking I was going to have to cut the square tubing and move it, which it's, you know, it's stick welded to the frame of the truck, and it's already kind of set up there. So yeah, I'll just get this put up into place. The hardest part will be getting the splines on the input shaft to line up with the clutch. That's always the hardest part, but once I get it in, I'll bolt it up and I'll get working on the mount. I don't want this engine transmission having a hang on just the motor mounts up front, so try and get that done today. Okay, I got the transmission bolted into the truck. I had to just make up a little mount with some flat plate. I'll show you guys in a sec. But here I'm just shortening the drive shaft. So I've already cut the yoke. Sorry, put the camera on there. I've already cut the yoke out. So all you do is here's one that hasn't been cut, right? You just cut that weld, and you don't have to go super deep. You don't want to cut super deep into the yoke. This tubing is thin, right? That's the drive shaft tubing. Now we're going to shorten it 3 inches because I've measured from from U-joint to U-joint. I got to be 18 and a half. Right now it's 21.5, so I got to shorten it 3 inches. So I'll just mark it down here. There's the mark there. I'm going to mark it around, and I always cut it with the grinder. I've done this a bunch of times. This is really easy. You guys can take these into the driveshaft shop, and they'll charge you, man, it used to only be a couple $100. Lately it's, I think the guy said he just had one done for $600, so I don't know. This is an easy thing to do yourself. Anyways, you can use a chop saw. That'd be a nice way to cut it straight. I don't have one, so I just use a grinder, and I just work my way around on the line I've drawn, and just keep it square. It's pretty easy to do. And then when you cut this tube off, you hammer this back in. Now don't forget to phase your U-joints. What that means is you want this cap pointing, say you got it pointing straight up, you want that one pointing straight up as well. You don't want to have this one pointing that way and that one pointing up. And then you just weld it. So I always clean this metal up with the wire wheel or whatever, and clean this up. And then tap it in there and just use a MIG. I don't use a stick. I find it burns almost too hot. It'll burn through the tube. But if you use a MIG welder, just do a spot weld here and a spot weld on the bottom. And then I just literally use a square, like a framing square, and I run it alongside the drive shaft tube. And I run it down this side. So it goes up here and down. And that way you can make sure that it's square. You can tell if it's, you know, if you got a 1/4 inch gap and you got a 1/16 inch gap on the other side, then it's obviously crooked. Really easy to do. So cut the tube, put the yoke back in, make sure you've phased each side, and a couple spot welds, make sure it's square, and then just run a good consistent hot weld all the way around. And that is all there is to it. It is super easy. And this guy's super short. I'm not worried about it wobbling at all, but yeah, I'll just get this shortened. I'll show you guys that, and then we'll just get it welded. Okay, I've just shortened the tube. My cut was a little crooked, so it made it a little complicated to get this thing squared up, but just got it tacked on each side, and I'm just going to finish welding it here, and we'll put it back in the truck. There, that's all there is to it. Hopefully you guys saw that. Just ran the weld across. I'll clean that up, and then I'll probably just spray it with some black paint just to keep it from rusting. And yeah, that's all there is to it. Simple as that. I've never had one badly wobble, and I've done ones, mostly done them in the full-size ones in the back of your car or whatever. I did the one in my Dart. I did the one in that 65 Valiant. I actually shortened this one in here, the center one and the rear one, because I moved the wheelbase closer together. The front one I didn't have to do because the transfer case never moved. Okay, I've got it all back together under here. I ended up welding on the Z-bar there. I don't know if you can see it here with the light. There's the bottom of the Z-bar. I ended up welding it, longer arm on it. I ended up welding a longer rod. It's all just homemade crap. It works for what it is. I was thinking of changing the Z-bar for another one I had that's actually a truck one, but it doesn't line up. Nothing lines up, and I figured, you know what, that thing's been in there this long. I know it's all stick welded together, but it works. I just had to make the arm a little longer, bring the angle of the rod that goes to the clutch fork down. The clutch fork's in. Notice the spacer on my inspection cover. That's because this inspection cover is not the right one for this bell housing, and it actually hits the flywheel. So I just built a little spacer out of square tubing. The 445 is in. I've just filled it full of oil. I drained the old oil out. There was some water in it, so good to get some fresh gear oil in there. There's the mount. There's the drive shaft, shortened. Hopefully that doesn't shake like crazy. And yeah, the rest of it I didn't have to touch. It's all just how it was. I still got some things I got to do. I do have to change the front pinion seal. It's leaking. Also, the closed knuckle here is leaking. It's dripping some. I thought it was full of grease, but I feel like it's got some gear oil or something in it. I don't know. I don't remember touching that. I mean, I did go through them, but I don't remember putting gear oil in there, so I don't know why it's thinned out so much. The passenger side is fine. I did just pull it out of the shop. Probably should have set the camera up on the tripod, but just a bit rushed this morning. Anyways, a couple things I still got to do. It's not charging the battery. I also noticed the fender has sort of popped out here. I got to fix that. But I was having issues with this carb. This is a Holley 650 with the vacuum secondary. It's just got that little tube that runs across front to back. And I bought it from a guy who claimed it was brand new, ran once to break in an engine and then just put away, and he drained all the fuel out of it. And I put it on this engine and I was having so many issues with it. It was idling up and down and up and down, and it had like no power. It was weird. So, but I opened it up and I found a bunch of broken gaskets, like old cork gaskets. And my first clue should have been that the screws on the bowl are flat. They're not like a 5/16 hex. So that's a good sign that not actually a new carb, probably an old carb, and the guy lied to me, but whatever. Anyways, I changed out some of the gaskets. There was a couple vacuum leaks. I fixed that, and now it's actually running very good. So the voltage regulator or the alternator, something's not working. I've swapped out a couple of regulators I've got. Doesn't seem to fix it. It's not charging, so I think the alternator's pooched, unfortunately. I think it was actually a new alternator a couple months ago. But yeah, so that's that. I don't have insurance on it, so I can't take it out for a rip, but once I move some things, I've actually got that 77 Chrysler wagon for sale right now, 4,200 Canadian. I think that's a smoking deal. I've had so many messages and not a single person has shown up. So if you guys are interested, let me know. But anyways, I had to bend the shifter arm. It actually came straight up like this before, so when you'd go down into reverse, you'd actually hit the seat. So I just stuck it in the hole in the bumper of my Ford pickup for the hitch and just put weight on it and it bent. So that's how I got that shape. But that works well. It's in first gear right now, so obviously first gear doesn't hit the dash, but it also doesn't hit the seat. I might bend it to the right a little bit, just because it is under the steering wheel there. But yeah, I just gotta mess around with the boots a little bit for the floor, and this thing is good to go, I think. So, you know, fires up right away. Well, normally. Idling a little high. I'm gonna bring it down a bit once I get it tuned more here, but that reverse there is quick, and the carb is idling very high. I gotta turn that down a little bit so I don't burn out this new clutch, but yeah, it's way up there now. Right on. Well, there you go. That was probably a short little video. Just thought I'd show you guys what I'm up to. I've got a bunch of projects on the go right now. The plan is this year to drive it. I didn't drive it at all. Right now it's November 2025. I didn't drive it at all this year. I'd love to put plates on it and just use it. It's a neat old truck. So I'm glad I put the different transmission in. That should That clutch is a million times better than the other one was. Immediately noticed a change. So now we've got a diaphragm clutch, 23 spline, much easier to find parts for. And yeah, and a new 445 transmission with a usable first gear. So I'm not taking this thing out in the woods. I'm not gonna go smash up the fenders. I don't have any of these parts, so I don't need to be trying to, you know, hammer out big dents in this thing. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and we will see you on the next one.